back to the NurseAnn.com podcast. I think we're on number 5. That means we're going to jump into the published short story fiction series by Nurse Ann, and that is The Mental Files. I'm going to read you chapter 5, and then we're going to break it apart as it relates to real-life drama, inner thought strongholds. We'll also get some biblical prescription, some wisdom to help us on our life journey. And then, if we have time, we'll jump into the files of NurseAnn.com for something fun, something medical, something healthy, or whatever we can find on that website of NurseAnn.com. And if you want to catch up on the series, you can start at podcast number 1. The chapters are in order, and then there's something really helpful and interesting after the chapters as it relates to life. And not only that, before we jump into the chapter, just to let you know, the complete season is out now of The Mental Files. You can just get the whole season in one book instead of buying each book. And once again, I did that for you to save you money, because we all need to save money these days. And that is called The Mental Files, and it is First 6 Stories edition. And that is book 10 of the series, because there are some trilogy and other editions in there with the collections. You can get that on Amazon, paperback and Kindle. The Mental Files by Nurse Ann, that's Ann with an E. And we'll go ahead and jump into, I read the audiobook here for free, and then we break it apart. So we're going to jump into that exciting chapter number 5 of book 1, The Mental Files, Sheep Among Wolves. Chapter 5 of The Mental Files by Nurse Ann is Joshua at the ER. Back on their way to the emergency department again, Officer Leon and Joshua's caseworker Lita were glad that their long, stressful shift was coming to an end. As tired as she was, Lita was actually looking forward to this quote-unquote date with the handsome officer. After they checked Joshua into the ER, she gave the man from the bridge a hug and told him to be strong and that she would be praying for him. Josh, I wish I could stay with you, but I'm already over my shift. My manager is always getting on me about overtime, offered his caseworker. It's okay, Lita. You're an angel. Please just keep praying for me. I'm going to try again this time. And please call my wife, added Joshua. Absolutely, answered the caring lady as she and Officer Leon walked back out to his car. The crowded emergency department had just switched over to the next shift staff, and triage nurse Ben was checking in the intoxicated, suicidal patient. What's your name, sir? Asked the nurse. Joshua, slurred the depressed man. Joshua what? Asked the busy triage nurse. Hey, can you call my wife? Asked the patient. One step at a time. First of all, you're going to have to get out of those clothes and put these paper scrubs on. And then I'm taking you to the back, demanded the staff member. Hey, you don't have to be so rough. What is your problem? Questioned the almost bridge jumper. I don't have a problem. It looks like you do. Now go ahead, get changed. I need your wallet and your belt and your shoestrings in this bag, ordered the nurse. The depressed man complied with the demands of the triage nurse as he started to weep. What are you crying about? Just be a man, ridiculed the nurse. Hospital security and the triage nurse walked Joshua back to the psych room as Nurse Kylina walked by on her way out after clocking out. Noticing the crying man tugged at her heart. Oh, what's wrong, sir? Is there anything I can do? She offered. Hey, Kylina, aren't you off the clock? We've got this, snarled the triage nurse. Gosh, man, obviously this man is hurting. I was just trying to offer to help. Kylina, stop being such a bleeding heart. This isn't the place for that. This is a busy emergency room. Why don't you just go on home now? Mocked the annoyed staff member. Wanting to help the depressed man a little more, but not wanting to irritate the staff, the nurse gave in and walked to her car. End of chapter 5. And chapter 6 is Leon and Lita's date, which will be on the next podcast. So we're going to jump into breaking this chapter apart and some of our word puzzles that relate to this and have some fun and interesting learning with that. So let's jump into that word. What is that sound? What is that water noise? Well, today's word puzzle is ebullience. Bubbling over, exuberance, overflowing. Life doesn't always feel like that description. Stress and sadness try to rob our joy, push us back down. Thankfully, we have a Savior who cheers us on. Jesus said he can fill our empty wells with living water. We don't have to thirst and be dissatisfied, feeling like we're going to sink. He wants to give us life in abundance. In John 10:10, the thief comes not to steal and kill and destroy, but Jesus said he's come that you could have life and have it more abundantly. Allow this promise to fill your heart and overflow to others. In the story, Joshua was depressed. He had a relapse. He'd fallen back into an old habit that was destroying his life and destroying the life of his wife and kids and his complete family. So he was down on himself. He was at the end. He went up to the bridge, but thankfully the caseworker and the officer were able to show him some kindness and save and rescue him and bring him to the ER, and hopefully he can get some treatment. And an encouraging verse when we fall down, when we want to get back up, is Psalm 145:14. The Lord upholds all who fall and lifts up everyone who is bowed down. So if you're feeling like you're falling, if you've fallen back into something that you didn't want to, just cry out, ask God to save you, seek some therapy, get some help, and you're going to be picked back up even when you feel like you're bowed down. So don't give up. Reach out for that living water. It's a watery day here on the podcast. Sounds like we're jumping in some water or going fishing or something. Doesn't that sound refreshing? So let's go ahead and jump into the files now of nurseann.com since we have time left and see what we're going to do with that. So we're going to spin that wheel and see what we land on in the files of nurseann.com website. Here we go. What do we have? Looks like we landed on a medical tip for today, and that medical word is sarcopenia. What is that? Well, sarcopenia is a syndrome characterized by progressive and generalized loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength, and is strictly correlated with physical disability, poor quality of life, and can even lead to death. How depressing. Risk factors for sarcopenia include age, gender, and level of physical activity. So that being said, I just want to encourage you, no matter what situation you're in, what age, you can get some type of physical activity. Even if you're on bed rest now, you can do some stretching, some movement of your arms and legs. And if you're not in bed, get some physical activity, some muscle, some weight training, some walking, whatever you can do to try to preserve that muscle mass, to keep your life healthy and strong. And that's from the files of nurseann.com on the tab of the Nurses Station. You might want to check out that website for more health tips, more creative entertainment with a purpose, and inspirational wellness. So, a little recap. We've made it through Chapter 5 of the Mental Files, the fictional drama series by Nurse Ann. I'm a nurse of 28 years and still going, certified in emergency and a mental health registered nurse. So I'm going to give you an inside look, promote some empathy for struggles worldwide, mental, physical, and spiritual. And on that series, you're going to see if the frontline workers can rescue those in crisis, mental, physical, and spiritual, and the shifts are 24/7. So you're going to want to buckle up for this compelling ride filled with danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. Be a part of the Nurse Ann vision. You're going to get into adventure, advocacy, awareness, and action. And that complete series for the first season is available on Amazon. There's 10 books, but if you want to save money, just get the last book, number 10, which is The Mental Files, First 6 Stories Edition by Nurse Ann. You're going to enjoy that series. You're going to meet all the characters and go on that adventure with them. So I'm going to see you on the next NurseAnn.com podcast, where I'm going to continue the story and we're going to get into more real life situations. Have an awesome day. See you at NurseAnn.com on the next podcast.